that being said, a lot's kind of out the table as a first pick traditionally. So like, Varus is gone. Azir that usually C9 would go for. A DSG priority, I wonder about.
I mean, I do think the Orianna is high prio because also it kind of dissuades you from wanting to pick the Talia.
Yeah.
Fun fact, that's a Xin Zhao ban, not a Darius ban. Thank you, Splash Arcane.
Yeah, they do look very similar now.
Yeah, but you noted, Kobe, that's 2 gray streaks.
I think that's
the secret. That's the hack to telling them apart.
I didn't think that was Darius.
Yeah.
Yeah, at first impression. I wonder what chat thinks though on that.
That's a good question, actually.
Well,
on that one.
also, pro teams are not banning Darius. Ever. I don't think.
Context clues.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, we got the Vi split with the Talia I just talked about. The Orianna is good into it because range here is really nice for mid lane for the matchup. And so they're going to go for the Orianna regardless of the Vi being early picked.
I mean, Orianna Renekton is as cookie cutter as it gets for C9. Like, in terms of drafting for fit or just drafting for comfort,
oh, nice.
C9 is drafting for comfort, I feel like, with those first 2 picks. And that's not a bad thing.
Yeah. And it's like generally a good way to take away from the combo. Oh, that's interesting.
Whoa.
So a few things already happened very quickly. Yes, nerf Gwen. So the big nerf, of course, is 3 armor down, but also you are halving your initial slow from the initial 60 to now 30%.
Rank 1 is 30% now. It still scales up.
Yeah.
Rank 3 will be 60%, but yeah, it definitely is a big nerf to the early game. That plus the armor that you mentioned. Going against Renekton, Renekton does take advantage of that.
It's going to be very tough. But interesting now that they got the Galio in there, I think one of my favorite picks for Darkwings. It's like already pretty much a setup composition around playing through sides. So interested on that one with the Trundle being picked from C9.
And a very short range composition so far for DSG. They have the ability to get in there with like the Vi Galio, but they don't have a lot of ranged damage following it up right now. So Orianna, I think it's even more value here. I know the Gwen can kind of like dodge a lot of that. The Galio has magic resist and the magic shield, but if they just keep trying to kite back, like C9, they're looking at very low range right now.
I'm a big fan of the first 3 from C9. Even though it was from them just blind picking both of their solo laners, the answers being Galio Gwen, when I feel like both Galio and Gwen will probably lose lane early to the 2 blind picked champions from C9. Anero, he's new. He's LeBron.
LeBron James is drafting for this
said his number 1 and 2 games are pretty dang good.
He just knew that they'd answer with
Then he dropped
Gwen.
off his confidence a little bit after that. But DSG, very clearly, we call this a dive composition. So you're starting to think about stuff that's going to go like Kaisa with it, you know, some sort of other engage. Since they banned Alistar, I think they want Rel, because Alistar is always a good answer into the Rel, and then you just go Kaisa Rel bottom lane. But they could shake it up and go a little bit more spicy. But that's what I'm kind of picturing here for DSG, since they're looking at an Orianna that is a low mobility carry, and they're just going to go full dive. Oh, they banned the Rel themselves.
They are against Trundle, so there's a chance that they don't want to go with a melee engage support.
Trundle already has some other good targets too for his ultimate, so I don't think the Trundle's
good Trundle game.
Yeah. I do like the Rakan takeaway. Just because Rakan is such an easy delivery with Vi, Galio, so the Orianna will have a lot of trouble. It's probably going to be roaming mid, and I think in the hands of Huhi, he's quite good at it. But the Neeko support pick is very good with what C9 has to offer.
And right now, I mean, the only other engaged supports, I'm looking at Leona as an option, but like playing that into the Neeko, it is at least non-committal engaged if you throw that out. They have the Kaisa, so they are going for that.
Nautilus support, bro.
There we go.
Oh, that's a good combo.
No, this is one of those games where every hook Nautilus lands, he dies. Like, he, the Nautilus, dies. Because he's so squishy in this team comp.
But there's a lot of follow-up. This is the most interesting thing for me, is the Kaisa being added to this, where if Galio gets something going, if Vi goes in, Galio can follow up, Kaisa can follow up. A pick is very much real. And so the Xayah, I think, was an inevitability.
Good pick.
The Orianna is going to need a lot of protection, especially if she gets put on side. So that's a worry for me, but I still like C9 composition a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, what you're saying, Raz, it sounds like a good death for Nautilus.
Yeah.
You get in there, you get the engage off. Because, yeah, it is going to be hard for the dive to get out, but they're full dive here, so that's what you got to do. That's what you got to play for.
Sure. I'm going to say this is a not bad draft.
Ooh.
Azael, what do you think?
For Cloud9.
For Cloud9.
I'm even going to say it's good.
Yeah, not bad wasn't an option,
We have
Chat.
good, bad, or remake.
Yeah, there's only good,
Guys.
bad, and really bad.
Yeah.
3 options, you missed them all.
There's no not bad. You have to commit. You have to commit.
Well, so far, an arrow has been 1 for 1, according to chat.
True.
And we are going to have you guys voting again this game. We'll bring it up, but the 3 options are going to be good, bad, or remake that you're going to be voting on. So we'll see if an arrow can go 100% on his drafts in this series.
Yeah, remember game number 1, it was 63% good, 10% bad, 27% remake. So nearly 2/3 of responses
That's a good.
were
that's a
supporting
good.
That's
an
a
arrow.
check in the
Yeah.
box.
Yeah, and I think this draft has a lot of tools to deal. Like obviously the Xayah pick is going to be the most obvious one. Coming in as the 5th pick, she's going to be able to handle herself pretty well with the tools she has against this kind of mega dive comp coming out with the Vi, the Galio, and the Kaisa all trying to get in on you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, the kind of like premier support against this is always Renata, but Neeko is very, very powerful with the counter engage as well, because when you are playing these sort of dive comps, you have 4 melee champions and then Kaisa, which is short range, and you all naturally are piling in on one person for a 5-man Pop Blossom, right? And then the Shockwave. And like all of these tools there are going to make things really, really difficult. So you've got to be very precise about how you engage, where you fight. But spam now in chat, how did an arrow draft? Is it good, bad, or is it a remake for this C9 draft here? Game 1, he got a good. He's passing so far. He's going to keep his job for another day.
They did bring it up, but he did say it's games 1 and 2 that he thinks he's like the LeBron of drafting. It's game 3 where the wheels end up coming off. And I believe that was in the Shopify series. That kind of the anti-Yone comp coming out of Shopify.
Where, to quote an arrow, he said he needed to be shot for that draft.
Yes, he did. His words, not ours.
Okay.
In-game.
Well,
In-game only.
Yeah.
For Disguised, I think you really are fine playing the early game with like the same confidence that you did in game number 1. Like if Disguise's first 20 minutes of the game go as good as they did in game number 1, they'll be happy with that. You just need to forget that Otacon is there.
Yep, absolutely. And Jack, believing in his coach, voted good again.
Nice.
That's 2 for 2 good
Okay.
votes. We'll have to see if they start losing. Will Jack, will the tides turn? Is he going to be spamming remake in chat?
That will actually be funny as hell if
That
the
would be
team
funny.
owner spams remake at the coach's draft.
I'm sure he's felt that sometimes. Whether or not he
sure
will
he has
spam it in
too.
chat is a different question.
Exactly.
It might be
That's
a
why it would be so funny.
A personal conversation instead, like we need to talk.
No, I think it's way funnier to do it in Twitch chat.
It is.
You
Do you
can
think
add
he'd
an arrow,
he'd get the chatters on his side?
Yeah, he would.
Yeah.
He very likely would.
So last game, we saw eXyu making some plays early, having a lot of presence in the early game. And here in game 2, he's on the Vi, which is another champion that he can very much do that with. But he's up against Trundle, who is so good at fighting into these champions who have a lot of their power budget spent on target access and gap closing like Vi does. Because as soon as you're in melee range of Trundle, he's going to beat you. That's just what he's designed to
As soon
do.
as you're in melee range of him, he's in melee range of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just wailing on you with a club.
So for eXyu, the decision-making is still just as critical as it was last game. He needs to be making these plays, he needs to be aggressive, needs to be facilitating for the team, but he will be punished very heavily if he doesn't make the right calls.
I like that quote. I cheer for whichever team winning makes the funniest result. Hashtag DSG win. I respect it. I respect it. That's a chaotic chatter.
Chaos, yeah.
Darkwings down to 200 HP and almost no mana. Loki singing the same song, though, as both junglers decide to pass through mid on their way down bottom, looking for the next Scuttle Crab opportunity here. But let's see, eXyu and Huhi going after Blaber, but the dredge line doesn't lollipop to hit him, so Blaber just casually walks away from it, and that Scuttle Crab belongs to C9.
Yeah, first time ever that a Nautilus hook has not cheated to actually grab on. That was kind of crazy. Nicely done by Blaber, though. eXyu, obviously, you're not going to be able to win the 1v1. So, you want to be able to be on the opposite side of the map after you're clear. Blaber ends up getting both of those scuttles and is actually way ahead now already.
Ooh, Thanatos forced to flash here nice and early. We saw last game, Thanatos not playing respectfully enough of Castle in the early game, dying a couple of times there in solo death situations as Ambessa into the rumble of Castle. And now here early on, Castle's Gwen has forced a level 4 flash out of Thanatos on the Renekton. So Castle individually having some strong laning prowess here in these first couple of games.
Yeah, and Castle in game 1 was a really big power point around which they could play, right, on the Rumble. If this Gwen gets ahead, despite the nerfs, she can still be a massive problem.
Yeah, he's going to live, but that is a bit unfortunate for Castle. He should be able to push in the wave, but it does mean, of course, that Thanatos is going to be able to TP back, and you will not have that Ignite. That being said, Ignite, not that long of a cooldown, and you will be very happy with how this lane is gone, because you will be able to get in on that crash. The first TP takes forever, so it's not really that threatening. Prior to TP taking a literal year to complete, it used to be a lot easier on these waves if someone overstayed a bit to actually punish them by TPing in aggressively and trying to hold that wave, but you can't really do it anymore these days, except in very rare circumstances.
I'll also be interested to see how much, hold on now, Huhi hits a dredge line. Zven under a little bit of pressure down here, loses about half HP. How much focus C9 puts onto collapsing multiple players towards Castle since he has no flash in this game. Rahel and Huhi continuing to try to chase further forward. Huhi with a flash for the passive lockup into the dredge line on Vulcan. But C9 staying calm, staying cool, not using their own flashes. Now Huhi has no summoner spells. Rahel doesn't have his cleanse. And once C9 goes back to base and shops, they'll have double flashes to try to make a play of their own.
Now I will say, you know, especially had Huhi gotten the flash out, it would have been very worthwhile because he's playing Spellbook, right? So trading those summoners out is actually pretty valuable for you. But the fact that Vulcan held his nerve, did not actually respond with his own flash, means that it is quite nice for Cloud9 down in that bot lane. But still, Huhi will have the teleport, so he can get around on the map. And I wonder if they would want to TP for a 3-man dive top. They're going to go for it.
Okay, let's see it. eXyu not level 6. Thanatos popping the early dominance. It'll help him clear the wave. It'll stack up his Fury, make it that much harder for Disguise to get anything done here. Yes, eXyu can jump in with a Vault Breaker, but if you Vault Break in on Renekton just on your own as a level 5 Vi, you're not going to get anything done, and Thanatos can walk away.
Yeah, you won't be able to kill him there clearly after he cleared out the wave, but what it does do is say, hey, I was here, you have to be scared, right? So he is a little bit nervous about walking up. Thankfully, they had a ward in the Pixel Brush in the river, so I think he saw eXyu on the exit. But at the very least, they put a little bit of pressure on. They get a plate. They're trying to look for these aggressive plays. I mean, they TP'd Huhi up. They moved Darkwings up through that river, so they really were trying to look for something here. But at the end of the day, it is just the ulti being forced out, and Castle is with his ultimate up and available and almost has the Ignite. So, you know, Thanatos does have to be careful if the wave is pushing away from him, because Castle might be able to find an angle for an all-in.
Yeah, and we'll see if Darkwings also potentially could find, because again, if Castle finds a good opening, Darkwings can always cheat up like he was doing there to see if he can ult in as the Galio. This composition does have a lot of ways where if one person dives in, another one can.
So we've got the updated results. 75% of people saying it was a good draft, only 7.5% saying bad, and 17.5% still on the remake train, but the numbers are going up. It was 63% good for game 1, 75% good for game 2.
I think that tracks, because we already talked about specifically with the Xayah and the Trundle, and to even some extent the Neeko, right? How many answers they have for the dive that DSG are bringing out against them. One thing that
LeBron-esque draft, if you will.
Yeah, I guess. That's what he said, right?
Yeah.
Those are his words.
He says he's the LeBron of drafting in 30% of games.
Okay, well, C9 is going after the grubs here with 8.5 minutes on the clock. Thanatos trying to get back to the tier 1 turret on the bottom side to defend that one as the wave is crashing in. Castle using needlework here to force the ulti back out of Zven. Still hitting him with a little bit more damage here from the snip, but cannot actually threaten his life. Thanatos will defend about half of the remaining HP on this tier 1 turret in the bottom lane. But the first Drake and all 3 grubs have gone to Cloud9 here in the early game, so it's a nice start for them. Castle now could be under a little bit of pressure, but eXyu is hanging around, waiting in the wings. C9 are not going to overcommit to this. Instead, just putting enough damage into the turret to get the plate and then backing away.
Honestly, well played by both teams. eXyu was there to cover, but C9 clearly red, hey, jungle could be top. If we actually commit to this dive, it could go really bad for us. So eXyu was sitting back. Now they're going to look on Thanatos.
Yeah, Thanatos gets hit with the depth charge, forced to use the ulti defensively here as Rahel continues pumping damage into this Renekton. And now Thanatos will once again back away. He does not have to use the flash, but he's in some pretty dire straits here. And he still has 50 seconds left on his teleport, which is just enough of a timer to not want to go back home just yet. So he will hang around down here in this lane. He'll clear out this wave and manage to hold his ground.
Yeah, he will be able to clear out the wave. You know, they don't look for a redive or anything. They want to keep their tempo up and get back going on the map. But I like the pressure that they're putting on Thanatos here because, yes, you know, when you're looking at the comps as far as 5v5, you're thinking, well, this is going to be pretty difficult for DSG to actually pull off a dive onto this Xayah, onto this Orianna with all the counter engage that is available on the C9 side. So you have to think about, well, how do we actually spread the map? How do we, you know, make this not a 5v5? Well, it's putting the Renekton behind so that Gwen can be a split push threat. So I do like the thought process there because if Castle can be getting solo kills and drawing multiple members to him, all of a sudden, C9 doesn't have those 5 members together where they can just kind of easily answer what your comp wants to do.
Huhi trying to get a little bit of control for vision down here in the bottom side as Rahel is getting that wave shoved up. Huhi's got to make sure that nobody from C9 is coming down to collapse. Honestly, very surprised, 10.5 minutes into the game, we still have no kills for either side. It has been a very quiet game in terms of the actual PvP action happening, but that also makes it that much more important that C9 has been able to control the neutral objectives so far. If kills aren't impacting the state of the game, aren't impacting the lead, then that means those objectives are worth even more. Huhi, nice use of the dredge line there, and now Zven has already used the ult. He's got to try to get away. eXyu wanted to ult him, but the failure of the positioning means he's stuck underneath the turret. eXyu dies first. It ends up being a 1-for-1.
Yeah, sometimes the turret can claim a victim if you are trapped underneath it like that. Turret doing some work for C9, just as you called out. We hadn't had a lot of early action. I think because both teams have been trading positions on the map, right? Like DSG had pushed into this top side. They weren't able to get that kill, so C9 were able to take the Drake off of it. As we see this replay of a set play from DSG that goes wrong, as that hook lands, Zven is able to get back with his ult, and then, yeah, eXyu is just trapped under that, ends up taking too many turret shots. They do end up getting Zven in the end, so it is a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, not too bad. You know, it is that 1-for-1 as you say, but unfortunately, Zven gets the kill, and it was in a 3v2. You're spending a fair number of resources to make it happen, but at the very least, they got flash and ult off Zven, so maybe they can look for a redive here.
Now Thanatos is the one who, again, is under pressure. Pops the Dominus, flashes away so that the Vault Breaker cannot find a target. They really do just want to keep all of this pressure on Thanatos, but he's done a great job at absorbing it so far, and this particular absorption of pressure creates the space for Blaber to secure another Drake. That is the 3rd neutral objective in a row for C9.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's almost like we're watching a replay, right, of what had happened earlier when DSG were trying to make a play on that top side, don't end up getting the kill, and then C9 are able to trade for yet another Drake.
Yeah, and you could see they wanted to try to keep that pressure moving down here in the bottom side too as Blaber and Loki step up. They force another plate down off of the turret. They use the subjugate, seeing if they might be able to scare Darkwings into maybe panic flashing. Rahel in a bad spot though, and Zven just bounces those feathers off of his corpse. It's another easy one for C9.
Yeah, he just barely didn't have his ult, and of course he did not have his flash that they used in that earlier play, so does get picked off, a bit of a risky spot to be walking in, and does get punished for it. And while we've talked a lot about top lane, quietly, Loki is up 775 gold in mid lane, you know, in what mostly has been an isolated 1v1. So he's been building very big advantages here over Darkwings, and that is a big concern because now, you know, Zven is getting ahead off these last couple kills. Orianna is just free scaling and is also going to be really problematic.
And that Rahel death right there just puts that much more importance on the botched play bottom from Disguised when they tried to dive and go after Zven, because Rahel's flash is down, like you say, Isaac, because he had to flash forward to get in range for a Kathian Rain after they did not secure the initial kill onto Zven. If he still has the flash there, you flash over the wall, you walk away. It's not just 1 kill from C9, it's 2 kills from C9 that have now resulted directly from that play not being where it needed to be.
And Zven now just cashed out his call. Of course, that eventually is going to happen for Rahel. But as of now, 760 gold for him. You know, it's still that 600-700 in the mid lane for Loki that it's bouncing back and forth between as they pick up waves. really the only point of power right now is Castle. And so that means C9 are going to be able to put more resources into punishing him.
Okay, Blaber's made his way in. Now Castle's in a pretty rough spot. He fires off some needlework. Thanatos knows he's the only one that Castle could possibly try to threaten with that. So he just makes sure that he sidesteps away from it. Third kill of the game for C9. That's Feat of Warfare. That's 2 out of 3 feats. That's the empowered boots as well.
And I think Blaber up.
And now, though, a little bit of a problem. Nice punish there from Disguise. Vulcan walked up. Did not expect Huhi and eXyu waiting there for him.
Yeah, and this means actually that Darkwings is, as we see, going to be able to take that entire tier 1 on the bot side uncontested. I was just about to praise Blaber because I think he's done a really good job of not only staying up in farm where eXyu's been trying to make more aggressive plays with his lanes, but then has had some really clutch pillars to kind of set up a lot of these catches that did lead to that Feat of Warfare for C9.
Okay, eXyu starting up the Herald here, but he's got to be a little bit careful. Huhi and Rahel coming up to try to assist, but Zven zoning Rahel away as now Blaber has to be concerned about his own mid laner. Loki flashing back over the wall, down to about 1/3 HP. Darkwings trying to escape now with an aggressive Xayah ulti denies that escape route. Zven picks up his 3rd kill of the game. This Xayah is quickly becoming a problem for Disguise.
It is a really big problem. I feel like that entire fight was decided by Zven. He pushed out Rahel, didn't allow him to get in, then gets over there with the aggressive Azael, gets the kill on a Darkwings who used his flash aggressively. Zven is starting to take over, and so are C9.
Yep, they are just going to hard force this tier 1 turret in mid lane. They picked up the Herald. They didn't even need to use it here. They have the 3 grubs from earlier for all that extra turret taking power, and quickly things are starting to run away from Disguised.
Yeah, and as C9 snowballs this out, it's going to become even more difficult for DSG to get onto key priority targets, right? Like we've seen already how they've been trying to get onto Zven. It has not worked out. As we see this replay again, just watch Zven, like you said, completely kind of takes Rahel out of this. And then when the Galio comes in, even with the taunt, Zven is able to get a massive pullback after his ultimate, completely killing off Darkwings and giving them full control over this Rift Herald.
And I mean, with Rahel not there, Castle not there, your 3-man squad is Nautilus, Galio, and Vi. And after they spend their spells at the start, like there's no more damage coming, right? Like nothing else is happening there. So they just don't have enough left in the tank to get it done. But I wanted to talk a little bit about oh, well, I'm not going to do it just yet. As another graphic just came up. But
look at that damage from Zven.
There you go. Look at that damage. C9 Spring versus Summer.
Oh,
that
no.
has been a little bit of a topic of conversation. People kind of have the C9 and Summer meme where they have had more of their struggles, I would say, traditionally. In Summer versus Spring, they always have been more of that Spring team. You know, 3 of their 4 championships were in Spring. Of course, you know, you think back to 2020, where they were so dominant in Spring and they didn't even qualify for Worlds in Summer.
Once again, Thanatos is the target. In flies Rahel with a killer instinct, and that will be enough to get it done. Castle manages to get away from the turret before that last shot would have killed him off. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, C9 is deciding to make their move over here with the Herald ready to charge into the tier 2 turret. Blaber and Vulcan stepping forward. Darkwings and Huhi wanted to try to punish Loki for driving the thing in there, but now it's Castle who's going to be in some serious danger. Remember that the Gwen does not have his ulti for the extra healing, so that means that he's going to fall now too, and C9 forces down the tier 2.
Again, it feels like every time DSG are trying to get something done on this top side, C9 is taking so much more on the map in mid and in particular in bot, right? Like they drop that Herald bot. Even when Castle is able to TP in, they're immediately on him. He's able to do nothing to stop them and ends up dying for it.
And I mean, not only is the gold getting out of hand, you are on soul point here for Hextech Soul. Objective bounties are spawning. Cloud9 definitely running away with this one.
And what you were talking about earlier, Isaac, is even more true now. The biggest individual gold lead in this game is Loki's Orianna over the Galio of Darkwings. 2.1 thousand, exactly. And Zhonya's Hourglass, second item with the Seraph's Embrace first. We were talking about how this composition is so good at dealing with the dive. Loki's probably going to be the main target because of how difficult it is to send all of your burst, all of your dive onto Xayah. Well, hey, man, Seraph's Embrace and Zhonya's Hourglass, it doesn't get much better than that for stuffing those attempts.
Absolutely. And before we get into another fight, I want to go back to the Spring versus Summer thing, because this is kind of the discussion here where, you know, this year, clearly, they have been the team battling at the top with FlyQuest. FlyQuest, you know, had been dominating everyone but C9, and these two teams have been going back and forth, back and forth. And coming into the elimination phase, the expectation was clearly it's C9 and Fly, way better than everyone. They're guaranteed to be, you know, playing each other in the upper bracket. Was not the case.
C9 looking to make their next move now as Castle and eXyu have to try to escape. Blaber's pillar going to start things off here for the C9 attempt as Thanatos is wrapping around with the dominance. The revenge of Renekton. He's been focused all game long, and now he's going to get focused again. The damage is not enough to finish him off, though, and it's one kill going the way of C9 as Darkwings wants to arrive. But the damage from the Cloud9 carries is way too much. Rahel will at least get one back there onto Blaber as he falls, but it's another 3-for-1 trade, and it's 2 more kills on Zven Xayah.
We saw it with Castle first. We see it with Darkwings there. Whenever someone tries to join these fights from DSG, C9 just have they're ahead, but they just have so many tools to be able to deal with it. And yeah, I mean, C9 are just absolutely rolling over this game.
Look at the bright side. DSG can't throw out Otacon in this game.
Well, that's what I was about to say. If you're
C9
disguised,
is probably going to try to take it first.
if you're disguised, your best chance to come back into the game just spawned. We have seen greater throws at Otacon, and it looks like C9 might just decide to go to the pit of doom immediately after spawn. They're going to start this one up. Problem for disguise, though.
Too good.
Nobody's in the neighborhood. Nobody is anywhere nearby this thing, and with how much damage the Xayah is already doing, I don't think there's going to be an Otacon throw on the menu for this one.
Nope. Now we have to wait for the Drake Soul fight. And
we don't have to wait long.
DSG has to hope that they get a miracle setup.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a 22-minute Soul. We can watch this one more time. This is way back to that earlier play where they are looking for this long chase down. And we did see, you know, the eventual call, you know, for this teleport to come in. They're trying to look to turn. They almost are able to actually burst down the Renekton. This is when the teleport comes in. But unfortunately, when the teleport started, it looked okay. When the teleport ends, it is your Uber Eats is here. Some fried chicken delivered to Cloud9 as the Galio goes down in a hurry.
And yeah, they got the one kill at the very end of the play for at least something, but still, it doesn't feel great. C9 also went from, I think, about 12 flowers to 27, 28 from that Otacon take, so all of that extra adaptive force being added on top of these 3 Drakes, these 3 Grubs, this 5,000 gold lead that's already manifested. And we've got less than 60 seconds now until that Dragon Soul spawns. For the side of Disguise, you cannot afford to give this over. And to add insult to injury, it's the Hex Soul as well, which is just going to make it that much more difficult to try to deal with these carries that are already insanely fed. 2-0-4 on the Orianna, 5-1-1 on the Xayah. Both of these guys are a problem, and Disguised is struggling to find an answer.
I mean, I think this is more the expectation people had coming into this series, that this was supposed to be one of the teams battling at the very top versus one of our teams who, though DSG has definitely improved, has been a bottom team throughout the year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think they, especially in Game 1, which looked a lot better, in this game, it really is just every time they're trying to make a play, C9 has gotten something better on the other side.
And now we're going to start up the fight immediately as the Dragon spawns. Huhi's the one who has to absorb the initial potential engage there from C9. Castle is behind the Cloud9 lines as Thanatos is just going to walk through, find him there with a slice and dice to try to get back away. Darkwings trying to lock up Thanatos, but he won't find him. C9 splitting somewhat. Blaber keeping aggro there on the Dragon as Thanatos escapes while the rest of the team wants to cover. Huhi makes the engage. Zven getting away. Darkwings wants his heroic entrance while both junglers are battling over the Dragon. Back in the pit, Thanatos down to 50 HP, but Castle's going to be killed first instead. Huhi's still barely hanging on. One more auto attack from Loki's going to seal the deal on him as he goes golden for just a moment, and Zven cleans up everybody else. At least eXyu was able to steal away the Drake Soul, but the problem is it's going to cost him the whole damn team. Loki chasing after Darkwings, the last man standing falls, and Thanatos and Blaber are already pushing down mid.
I mean, Loki was making that look stylish, the flash sombrero on the ulti, going in, getting a triple. This man is fed, and he is playing like it.
He has been having an awesome series so far today. His Azir shuffles were incredible in game number 1, and now here in game number 2, he's playing Orianna like this.
Yeah, and as this fight splits up, really keep your eyes on Loki. Also keep your eyes on Thanatos when he ends up catching Castle on this top side. It's actually what ends up splitting the fight and kind of drawing it up towards the top side, which is what eventually ends up getting DSG into the pit where they're even in a position. Huhi goes in onto Zven. Zven's able to completely get out. And then, yeah, I mean, Loki is just an absolute monster at this point. Able to Zhonya's there and then just clean up Rahel on the back half.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty clean for him. He comes out of the stasis. You can tell he's having fun. Little smirk there as he came out, puts the shield on his head, and then just R flash in on the enemy AD carry. How frustrating, though, for Castle. You know, he finds out Thanatos on this flank, gets him down to 50 HP, maybe.
Yeah,
and
very
they've had
little.
so many of these fights where they just barely cannot finish the people off, and that is what League of Legends looks like when you get behind. There's just all these kind of what-if moments, unfortunately.
Ooh, nice block there with a pillar coming out from Blaber, but now he's the one in danger as Disguise get a punish kill there and take out the Cloud9 jungler right as Baron spawns. Problem is, eXyu and Castle are both very low after the affair, so it's not like Disguise can immediately try to make some kind of follow-up play.
That does mean that C9 can't start this Baron right now, though, right? So it does give DSG a potential window to start setting up here. And we'll see if they just reset and try it.
I
Yeah,
feel like you
might as well.
You are in
You're
a
7K
horrible
down.
spot. Yeah, exactly. You're giga far behind. Your comp
There
is
we
hard
go.
into their comp. Like, this is the best chance you're getting. Go for it.
All right, they do have the Fed Kaisa as well. Rahel with 4 kills and 3 fully completed items. Thanatos using the Hex Gate to make his way in here, wrapping around on the flank. Disguised have the Baron down to 6,000 HP as C9 decide now is their moment to try to move in. The Baron's down to 1,000 HP. The objective bounty claimed Disguised. Get the Baron, but now they got to try to get as many men out as they can. Blaber has finally respawned, making his way back forward, walks into the brush, finds eXyu. Rahel is already down. Make it 3 dead on the Disguise side, and it's about to be 4. Castle knows there's no way out from here. Darkwings will be the only one who escapes with the Baron buff intact as Zven gets a triple.
Yeah, and he TP'd immediately down towards bot to see if he could find something, but Loki just answers immediately with his own TP. They do not want them picking up any bounties. They do not want them pushing out any waves. He just wants to shove this in and make sure that they're getting nothing from this Red Bull Baron power play. You can see it's already negative 600. Yeah, it didn't work out, but they were close to getting a lot of those recalls off, and I fully respect the attempt. Like, when you're that far behind, you need to send it. If they had gotten 3 or 4 members out, that is like an amazing play from the position that you're in. And eXyu gets put really low. Loki had a good shockwave, and Zven was putting a lot of pressure on him, but they just can't create enough space to actually get the recalls off. Huhi's trying to buy time. Barely Rahel gets interrupted. Then, of course, eXyu on the top gets stopped by Blaber. No one can get out.
Yeah, Blaber comes back in time. They're able to get onto Castle here as we see the rest of the fight play out. I do like the TP response from Loki. I thought that was really smart. Up as X.
We're already back into it. Loki under a little bit of pressure here from the heroic entrance. Meanwhile, Blaber's about to die once more. He'll be the first one to fall as Disguised are still scrambling in this fight. Vulcan goes in for the Pop Blossom, finds Huhi, and another lockup onto Castle, who drops next. Both solo laners already dead on the side of Disguised. And it looks like this one's the end of it. The ace, the quadra kill for Zven on the Xayah. It's a 5 for 2. It's the end of the game as C9 push down mid.
That's what I've come to expect from a LeBron-esque draft from Nick and Aerosmith.
It was
a really good draft.
It was not as close in the early game here in game number 2. C9 felt like they had control over this one from start to finish. It was a slow start early on. Not a very violent early game in this. It was, what, 12 minutes, 13 minutes before we even got a kill. But then C9, once they got ahead, they stayed ahead and suffocated Disguised out of this second game.
Yeah, they had all the tools to be able to deal with what Disguised were throwing at them. And now I'm curious to see if the Lounge also thought that was a LeBron-esque draft. Because I didn't hear from you guys initially. You just said not bad.
To defend myself,
Defend.
you guys changed the verbiage. It is SH expletive T
What could that be?
and not that word.
Yeah.
I just said bad instead of that word, so I was using the original Nick and Aerosmith safe for